What's going on, everybody? Greg here, and welcome to part 2 of my Complete Blu Ray Collection. So let's jump into where we left off. Child's Play, Charles Lee Ray, Chucky the Doll. This film is not as scary as it used to be. I bought it because I remembered how awesome it was, and when I watch it, it reminds me of how scared I was when I was a kid watching it, but as an adult, not very scary anymore, but it's still fun to own. Chucky is still pretty menacing. Pretty decent movie still. Definitely worth a watch. I Am Legend, starring Will Smith. This movie is basically like the end of humanity. Some virus breaks out or something, but he, for some reason, has something in his blood where he doesn't get affected by it, along with a small group of people. And he's basically like a scientist, and he's trying to survive and find a cure to basically, save humanity, I guess, in a way, or whatever's left of it. This is a really good movie. It's very emotional. Definitely interesting. And iRobot, another Will Smith movie. This is actually very interesting. It's basically about, it's in the future, and we basically have AI, artificial intelligence. Basically, you can put them into a robot, and now you have robots that are, not your slaves so much, but, your helpers, except all of a sudden, someone gets killed by a robot, and that's unheard of because they're supposed to be made to protect you. And so it's kind of like an FBI movie trying to figure out, did this robot kill this person? And if it didn't, then, who did? And all of a sudden, robots start turning. It's it's pretty good. It's a lot of action. So definitely check it out. And actually, the voice of the main robot is also the voice of K2SO in Star Wars Rogue One. So that's pretty cool, right? Transformers, Age of Extinction, or what I like to call this movie is a Transformers movie that stinks. Pretty much. This is definitely the worst one out of all the Transformers movies. Not like a lot of them were that good, except for the first two, but this one is kind of lame. It really is. Well said! Castaway, Tom Hanks. You want to talk about solo acting and one of the best acted films you'll ever see? Castaway's your guy. He works for FedEx. I used to work for FedEx. He works for FedEx, and his plane crashes over the ocean. He survives the plane crash and ends up on a desert island by himself. Has no way to communicate or anything, so he basically is just stuck on an island, not knowing if he's going to ever get back to home or not. Very well acted, very sad, very happy. No happiness. This is just a sad movie, but it's really good. Definitely check it out if you have not seen it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one. The original movie. This is cool, guys. This movie is cool. It's definitely lame in a lot of areas, but the turtles are cool. I definitely like them more than the CGI turtles that we have because it's practical. It looks real. The kung fu in this movie, the karate is really cool, actually. Shredder is really cool. This was a good movie. It's not well acted or, it should win awards, but it's definitely if you haven't seen this since you were a kid, find a way to watch it and put it on. It's cool. It's definitely cool. Dreamhouse. My wife bought this movie. I watched it years ago. Don't remember anything about it, so not worth talking about it. Step Brothers. John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell. Funniest movie I've ever seen. Always will be the funniest movie ever made. I hope they make a sequel, and if they do, it doesn't suck. But this is definitely a funny movie. I'm going to review it for sure, definitely. Harry Potter, Blu-ray, 1 through 7. I've only seen the first 4 of them, to be honest, but I saw this for $20 for 7 Blu-ray movies. So that's a really freaking good deal. So even though I'm not a fan of Harry Potter and I haven't seen most of them, it's worth the purchase, right? I mean, I'm sure there's some diehard Harry Potter fans watching this, so yeah. My Sister's Keeper, Cameron Diaz, and Abigail Breslin. This is a sad freaking movie, guys. It's about this little girl. She gets cancer. And this is I can't remember now, her sister or her mom. But it's very sad. I mean, any movie with a kid who has cancer is sad, right? So you can just imagine how it might end or might not end. Who knows? But tearjerker. But there's also something special about this one as well. Got it from Blockbuster. I got a few of these, and I'm going to mention every time I got one from Blockbuster because I miss Blockbuster dearly. Star Wars, Episode 1 through 3. These are the prequels. They're not very good. Number 2 sucks. Number 1 sucks. Number 3 is decent, even though Hayden Christensen sucks. But it's pretty good, except if you can, I don't know if you can see, but I've never opened it because I have no plans on probably ever watching this. Maybe the third one, but nah, I bought this years ago and not going to open it probably. But on the flip side, Star Wars, episode 4 through 6. This has been opened and watched many times. These films are great. I will admit Star Wars is old now. If you know, the effects are horrible, but you still got Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, Vader. Can't go wrong with these guys. You just cannot go wrong with these. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, 2-pack. God, I mean, if you haven't seen these, what's wrong with you? The third one is coming out, and the third one looks fantastic. And the only reason I'm excited for the third one is because 1 and 2 were fantastic. If you have not seen this fabulous set of movies right here, freaking stupid. Watch it. You'll never know what this is unless I open it, will ya? Will ya? Got this from Blockbuster. Says right here, blockbuster.com. I wonder if that's even a website. I might have to look that up after this video. Resident Evil Afterlife. This movie's not very good, but it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I like the actors that are in it. Not because they're great actors, because I just think they're entertaining. Anything Resident Evil is kind of entertaining, so I bought it. It was really cheap, so that's why there's no case to it. Takers. Another one my wife bought. I watched it once. I don't even remember what it's about. It's basically like money and stuff, but it's got Paul Walker in it, so that's worth it, right? V for Vendetta, Watchmen, Constantine. These are 3 very interesting movies, so I don't really want to get into them. As you saw in part 1 of my collection, I had the Hangover 1 and 2, and you can't complete a trilogy without owning the Hangover 3. If you haven't seen this one because you thought the second one sucked, you're making a mistake. This one is hilarious. This one has John Goodman in it. I mean, obviously the same cast as well, but this one is funny. This one's not like the 1 and 2. Like, in the first one, Doug goes missing, and they have to find Doug. In the second one, Doug goes missing again, they have to find Doug. Or not Doug, but the younger brother or whatever, the brother-in-law goes missing, they have to find him. In this one, no one goes missing. He gets held captive, and they have to figure things out to get him back, which is different, okay? If you say it's the same, you're lying. It's not. It's different. And this one's actually really, really funny. The relationship, especially between Phil and Alan, is way better in this movie than it is in any of the other 2 movies. So, Hangover 3, highly recommend it. Chronicle. If you have not seen this movie, you're missing out. This is a found footage film, basically about these three different types of people who find this underground like type of thing that they don't even ever figure out what it was, but somehow it like blows up on them and they get these like powers, but not like X-Men or anything. They just have like telekinesis powers where they can levitate things, and they also can like levitate themselves, and one of them gets carried away with their new powers, and it's up to the other 2 basically to stop them. This movie is great. It's like the most realistic thing that you can get out of a movie if like 3 teenagers got powers. It's not cheesy at all. It's actually really, really good and intense as well. Avatar, James Cameron. This movie was like one of the most successful movies ever to hit the theaters. It was so successful that they brought it back to the theaters for all the people that heard about it, that didn't see it, that wanted to see it. It's worth it. This movie's really good. It's really long, but every time you watch it, you're like, man, God, I forgot how good this movie is. It's really, really well done. It's beyond its time, CGI-wise. I remember that. There's like 4 or 5 more coming out, not till 2020, I think 2020, and that's too long, but you know what? Go back, watch the first one. It's really well done. X-Men Apocalypse. A lot of people said this was too long and it wasn't good because Apocalypse wasn't big enough or whatever, but this movie was really good, guys. Like, you get introduced to like your new set of like young X-Men, like you get Storm, Cyclops, Jean, you get the new guys who it is, and you also get Magneto and Professor X, you know, the newer cast. It's really, really good. The ending is really, really good. They have a lot of crowd pleaser moments in this film, definitely. I'm sorry, if you don't like this movie, I'd like if you commented and tell me why you don't like this movie, besides that it's too long and that Apocalypse isn't big enough. Other than that, what's wrong with it? It's really cool. Training Day, John Q, The Pelican Brief. I bought this movie for John Q and Training Day. Haven't seen The Pelican Brief. I wonder if it's good. But John Q is an amazing moving moment about a man whose son has a heart condition and he passes out at a baseball game. And basically he needs a heart transplant, but he doesn't have enough money to pay for it, and the hospitals refuse to give him treatment, so he has to, like, at gunpoint take the hospital hostage to try and get a new heart for his son. Very moving. Training Day, him and Ethan Hawke, ooh, so good. If you haven't seen Training Day, basically it's a cop movie. One's a crooked cop, one's a good cop. Watch it. Dumb and Dumber and The Mask, double feature of Jim Carrey, double dose of the funny man. Dumb and Dumber, these two idiots. I did a review for Dumb and Dumber, and a lot of people liked it and thought it was funny, so go back and check that one out if you could. It's really good. And then also The Mask. Jim Carrey finds a mask somewhere, like in a swamp, like in a lake or something, puts it on. He turns into this crazy dude who has these powers, and he's hilarious at the same time. Very funny Jim Carrey, man. This guy is so good. And then Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. I've already done the review, so check that out, but super hilarious duo of comedians. Mr. Brooks, starring Kevin Costner. Good God, this is a psychological, money-grabbing, amazing freaking... They earned their money on this one, in my opinion. I think this movie is super, super crazy. It's also got Dane Cook in it, which I thought he acted pretty good in it. I'm not going to lie. Basically, Mr. Brooks is a killer. He tries to put the killing past behind him, but there's also William Hurt. He's like his conscience, and he's telling Mr. Brooks, like, you need to kill again. I know it's inside of you. You can't just bury this deep down. And so Mr. Brooks goes and kills somebody, but Dane Cook sees him from across the apartment complex, and so he's like, hey, I want to kill somebody too. Take me with you. And it's just like a crazy psychological thriller. If you haven't seen this, check it out for sure. This is a really good one. Due Date, starring Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. This movie is hilarious, straight up. These two play so freaking funny towards each other. This is actually one of my top 5 favorite comedy movies. You can check that video out as well if you wanted to see that. These two are so funny. Robert Downey Jr. is a very serious, like, anger-issued guy, and Zach Galifianakis is Zach Galifianakis in every movie. He's just a big freaking oof who doesn't get anything, and they have to take a road trip together due to some circumstances back down to LA so that Robert Downey Jr. can be there for the birth of his first child. This movie is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. This Is the End, starring a bunch of people. You got James Franco, Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson, Michael Cera, Emma Watson. It's about basically the apocalypse goes down when they're at a party at James Franco's house, and it's up to this group to kind of just hang out until they can get rescued, but find out they're probably not going to get rescued, so they just need to survive. And these are some of my favorite actors, comedy actors, and they play themselves in this movie, and they are hilarious. Project X. This movie is not a good movie by any means, but it's definitely just like a guilty pleasure that I have. Like, try to relive the glory days through this movie. This is about basically a nobody and his 2 nobody friends. One of their parents goes out of town, so they try to throw the biggest party ever known. It's basically just a bunch of teenagers doing drugs and having sex and getting wasted. There's nothing good about this movie. It's just kind of fun to watch sometimes. The Strangers, starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedsman. They're basically a couple that in the middle of the night, someone knocks at their door asking for a certain somebody. It's creepy, and they get attacked by these 3 strangers in masks, and they try to survive and escape. But, you know, you never know what's going to happen if you haven't seen it. But this is definitely a very, very scary movie. Check it out. Cloverfield. This is a found footage film about aliens that come to New York and attack New York, and it's just a handful of people that we focus on that are basically just trying to get through New York and try and find a way to survive. And there's a love interest between one of the people, and they have to try and go find that girl. Very good. There was a sequel called 10 Cloverfield Lane. That was really good too. They don't really go together, but they are technically in the same universe, and I don't unfortunately own that one. But this one is really good. Some people said it made them sick when they watched it, but I never got that feeling. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Wedding Crashers, Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. They are 2 adults that like to crash weddings to try and sleep with women, and when they crash one certain wedding, one of the characters ends up meeting a girl that he actually likes, and then the rest of the movie is about him trying to win her over. This is a hilarious comedy between these 2. They went on to make another movie which wasn't as funny together, but this one is gold. This is a golden gem, if that makes sense. Marley and Me. I cannot watch this movie again probably in my lifetime because of how much I can't control my crying at the end of it. I'm not going to be too ashamed to admit that. This movie seriously like makes me weep like a baby. And again, got this from Blockbuster when they were going out of business. Another sad movie that I got from Blockbuster. If you're a dog person, you will completely be broken by this movie. If you're not a dog person and you still like animals, you'll still be broken by this movie. Check it out. Insidious. One of the scariest movies I have ever seen. It's not as scary now that I know where all the jump scares are, but when I first saw it, I was like, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's definitely in my top 5 scariest movies I've ever seen. It's about this kid who ends up going into some sort of coma, and we don't know why. Come to find out, he goes to some place called the Further, which is some dimension that he can travel to, and it's up to the mom and dad to try and figure out how to get him back safely before it's too late. Scary movie. Insidious Chapter 2. This is the second installment in the Insidious trilogy. Almost just as scary as the first one, if not as scary as the first one, but in different ways. It does have a lot of similarities to the first Insidious movie, but it's a little different. I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't seen the first Insidious. Just know that this is a really good scary sequel, which are hard to come across, but this one pulls it off. The Day After Tomorrow. This is my favorite disaster movie. It's got the best of all worlds. It's got a giant ocean wave. It's got tornadoes. It's got freezing to death. It's got a lot of good qualities to it that I like. And unlike San Andreas and 2012, those are also disaster movies, but those are just basically, let's try and show you the craziest CGI we can show you in a disaster film. This one actually has a really good story. Dennis Quaid, Jake Gyllenhaal. Dennis Quaid has to go get his son and save him. He's like some sort of like geologist kind of guy, and he's really, really smart, and he predicts that this is going to happen, but not for thousands of years, and then it does happen, and now he has to like try and go save his son who's trapped in New York. Very, very well done movie. I will be doing a review on this very shortly. The original Alien. I have not seen this. I'm sorry, don't give me crap because I haven't seen this movie, but that's why I bought it, because I wanted to see it before the new Alien movie comes out. Still in the case, still in the wrapping, haven't seen it yet. Gonna break into it shortly, but I don't know anything about this, so hopefully it's good. Dragon Ball Z, Season 8. I have all 1 through Season 9 on DVD, but like I said, I'm trying to like rebuild my Blu Ray collection, so as of right now, starting at Season 8 Blu-ray. This is a very good anime show. It's very nostalgic when I watch it, and I still enjoy it to this day. I freaking love Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z Season 9. I only have Season 8 and Season 9 on Blu-ray. This is the Majin Buu saga. This is probably like my least favorite saga out of all of them, but I definitely enjoy it. I like the struggle that our heroes have to overcome. There's a lot of good, iconic, memorable scenes in these last 2 seasons. Go check out Dragon Ball Z if you're not too afraid to check out something new, something anime. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle, and Harold and Kumar escape from Guantanamo Bay. That's a hard one to say. I bought it for the first one. It just came with a second one, but the first one is hilarious. It's basically about 2 stoners who go on a mission to try and find a White Castle, because the White Castle in their town is closed. It's something different now. So the remaining White Castle that they found is somewhere far away, so they have to take like a trip to go get it. While on their trip, they run into a bunch of problems. It's a stoner flick. It's funny. If you can't tell, I like stoner comedies. I think they're funny. The first one is hilarious, and then the rest are kind of lame, but definitely the first one is really funny. Superbad, starring Michael Cera and Jonah Hill. It's these 2 guys before they go off to college. They want to have sex with the girls that they like, and so they're in charge of getting alcohol for one of the girls' parties, and it's a crazy adventure to get this alcohol and try and get laid before they go off to college. 21 Jump Street, starring Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, or more like Channing Tatum. Hilarious movie. This is a remake from an old TV show starring Johnny Depp. Very well done remake. I didn't even know it was a remake until I watched it. These 2 are funny. They're both police officers, and they have to go undercover in a high school to try and bust these drug dealers who have this new drug that's killing people. And it's just one great comedy. These two are like one of the funniest duos ever, besides Jeff Daniels, Jim Carrey, and John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell in Step Brothers. Heck, a funny movie. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. 22 Jump Street is just as funny as number one. The other guys, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, they're, as you can see, they're police officers, but they're kind of like loser police officers that basically have to like stop a crime that's going on within the lottery. And Will Ferrell is a very passive-aggressive type of police officer. Mark Wahlberg is a real hard ass, and he tries to. They basically hate each other, or Mark Wahlberg hates Will Ferrell, and they have to work together to solve that problem. And their chemistry is very, very good in this movie. Definitely funny. If you haven't seen it, I think it's an underrated comedy. It's worth the watch. Definitely worth the buy too. And last but not least, Pineapple Express, my two dudes, Seth Rogen, James Franco. Seth Rogen witnesses a murder when he's smoking a joint out front of this guy Ted's house. He's a process server, so he has to serve papers to Ted Jones, the guy, and he witnesses a murder, runs over to James Franco's house to be like, oh my god, dude, I just saw a murder and stuff. And so now they're on the run from these crooks and from Ted Jones, and they just get into a bunch of shenanigans, and it's a hilarious movie, hilarious stoner movie. Actually, this is the number one of high-grossing weed film of all time. Bet you didn't know that. Very funny. I love it. Well, thank you everybody for watching my Complete Blu Ray Collection Part 2 video. Those are all the Blu-rays I have for now. I will keep updating you when I get new ones, when I get a whole handful of new ones. But thank you everybody for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, like, and share this video if you could. I'd appreciate that. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel if you like the content that I am putting out. And also, please hit that bell so you can get notified when I have a new video for you. Thank you everybody again for watching as always. And remember to watch a movie, man.